All right, everybody, welcome back. So the Taurus G3C, how's it holding up? Is it still a value? And do I still think this is a viable option for people out there looking for something in that sub $300 budget market? But I want to see some shooting footage. I know you want to see some shooting footage. So let's check out some shooting footage.
When it rains, it pours. Water's up to my chin. Won't stop fighting to the very end. Many men try to reach it. Many men have failed. Well, if you wanna get to heaven, you gotta raise a little hell. And I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They say no to sleepless night.
All right, so me and my buddy Mike from After Action Photography, I will leave a link down below in the description for him. He's been helping me out a ton recently, so I'd appreciate it if you give him a follow. He's got way nicer camera equipment than I do. But we were just having a ton of fun out on the range with the G3C. So this thing, when I bought it like 2020, 2021, I've still seen it in my local shop, $253. Exceptional price point right there for people in that sub $300 budget. But is it still worth it? How's it holding up? I've got right around 750 rounds for this thing right now. I really wanted to try and get to 1,000, but with everything that's going on with ammo right now, things are just really tough. Now, when it comes to the Taurus G3C and that price point, is it cheap in value or is it just cheap in price? Because remember, 2A is for everybody all day and twice on Sunday. And sometimes we have to remember, not everybody has the same budget we do, and they may need protection or self-defense right now. They may not have the time to save up and buy, say, something like a Glock 19. And I don't know about you, but me personally, I've had hard times in my life where I didn't know whether I was gonna be able to make rent. So I can definitely feel what people are feeling out there when they're in that sub $300 market. The question is this something you can trust? Is it valuable? And has it been reliable? We're gonna take a solid up close look at this. I'm gonna show you how it's wearing, and then I'm gonna talk about what you need to do to ensure this thing runs the best it can, because you definitely need to follow a couple steps to make sure it's gonna be as reliable as it possibly can be. And that's mostly in the way of like cleaning and lubricating. Clean and lubricate. It seems to be a lot of people don't know you actually have to clean these things and then splash a little bit of oil on them from time to time. And I actually made a whole video on how to clean these series of pistols. I will leave it linked in the description down below in case you're new and just have never done that before, which is fine. We've all been there. Check it out if you need it. And then of course, we'll talk about that range footage, any issues that have come up, 3 things that I really like about it, and maybe something that I would definitely change. So make sure you guys get subbed up, get belled up, turn the notification icons on. If at any point you like what's going on, you learn something, or you just think it's helpful, give that video a thumbs up. We're gonna go ahead and get into the Taurus G3C for a follow-up right now. But before we do that real quick, if you're interested in anything, I'll leave all the links for this stuff down below. Super helpful to the channel, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreons. All right, let's go ahead and knock out the follow-up on the Taurus G3C right here. And we'll go ahead and talk about what we get. Not the full review, but I'll list those specs over here. I will link the full review down below where I go through everything and show you how the trigger works and all that good stuff. But what you get with it is 3 of the magazines with the high vis follow in there, 12 rounders, and obviously your G3C. Multiple different colors in this thing. This is the black with the stainless barrel. So let's talk about how this thing is holding up. We'll take a good look at the outside, and then we'll get up in there and see what's going on. As far as the frame goes, we're not having any problems at all. Not wearing anything that's not expected. A couple scratches here and there. That's me out there on the range having fun. As far as the outside of the slide goes, you can start to see some wear right there from having it in a holster, from throwing this thing around, from it being on the bed of my pickup truck out there, and just basic overall use. That is the Tenifer finish on here, if you guys don't know. It's durable, it's fine. Even if it wears off, that finish is permeated into the metal. It is still going to protect it. You do have the option to put Glock sights on here, so you can put whatever you want on there. You do have the accessory rail, and that's about all we're gonna get into as far as the specs go, except for that trigger. Okay, so this thing has that restrike capability. So the first pull is very long. Then once the trigger breaks, you can go ahead and reset short and just work the trigger that short the whole time. You don't have to come all the way back out from there on. So as far as the barrel, we'll take a good look at that here in a sec. Go ahead and break this thing down, and then we'll take a look at everything inside. All right, broke that thing down off camera because time is precious. So let's talk about what's going on up here in the frame. You can see all of your wear areas, everything that's polished out and isn't black right now. The thing is a little bit dirty because I shot a bunch of rounds through it again the other day. But you can see the rear of the rails right here where that coating is polished off. That happens on everything. You can see up in there that sear surface right there. If you don't know, the sear surface is that. You can see where the striker has just worn that coating off. And then the same thing up here in the front where you can see the coatings wearing, and then in the locking block section up there. Those are very natural, what happens to every striker fired setup. And that is exactly where you need to put your oil. If you don't know how to clean these things, I linked the cleaning video down below for you. But I am not seeing any wear on here that I would not expect. You're always gonna get that wear. Most times they're gonna favor kind of the front and rear edges of the rails, kind of like you see right there, and that's just how these things wear in. Guide rod and everything doing just fine. No spring issues there. As far as the barrel goes, it's wearing in exactly as I would expect. The basic wear across the top, the basic wear across the bottom, basic wear where it's gonna lock up and where the guide rod and spring and everything is. Nothing unexpected. Now, stainless sometimes shows wear a little bit more than other coatings, but that's just how it is. Now, what you will notice is, and I'll do my best to kind of, make sure you guys can see this, the machine work on these, it's a $253 setup, okay? You're gonna see a little bit more of the machine marks in these than you will some higher end things. And that's gonna become very apparent in here in the slide. So if you take a good look in the slide, even on the edges, and especially up across the top where you can see the W43 right there, you're gonna see a lot of machine marks left over, okay? It's not the most finely finished setup in the world. You can see where the coating's wearing off on the inside. That is to be expected. That's just how these things wear. Although this is wearing up in here a little bit faster than some other things that I own. But again, that Tenefer finish is in the metal. It's going to be okay. So as far as everything else goes in here, it's as expected. I'm not seeing anything that's of any concern right now. You've got to clean it, and you've got to keep this thing well lubed according to the manufacturer's specification. All right, let's talk about price. Let's talk about any issues. And of course, check out that range footage. Talk a little bit more about that trigger. All right, so the wear on this thing is pretty much exactly what I expected. The Tenefer coating on there is not the most durable, but it's gonna be as durable as you need it to be. It may not be quite as sexy looking as DLC or nitride, but it's gonna get the job done as long as you take care of it. As far as the range performance goes with this thing, I haven't had any issues with it, and I shot junk steel ammo through this. I shot basic range ammo, and I did shoot some plus P ammo. You are not supposed to shoot plus P plus through this thing, so make sure you're not shooting those super high charged rounds because the manufacturer's warranty says don't do that. Let's talk about some of the good things here. One of the great things is gonna be that texture right there. So that kind of sandpaper texture seems to be the one that just gives me the most confidence in my grip out there. Another thing is the ergonomics of it. So the angles on this are very plain and natural and kind of more flat than say like a Glock. So I don't have to force my wrist down as much as possible. And that's maybe just a me thing, but I know a lot of other people do not like the grip angle of Glock as well, which is why a ton of companies do like grip reductions, backstrap reductions, and grip work for Glocks. Now, as far as the trigger goes, with that restrike capability, okay, the first pull on it is gnarly and long, but then once you start working it slow, you don't have to come all the way back out, but the first pull is definitely not the best. So let's talk about my 3 favorite things that have been going on with the Taurus G3C. And we'll go ahead and count this out together. So one is gonna be the value. The price of this thing, $253. At least that's what I paid for it. Late last year, I think it was late last year, $253. Might have been early this year. One of those two. But very recently, within a year, I paid $253 for this. And every time I've seen them in the gun store, they did not go up very much at all. If they did, it was only like a couple bucks, at least at my local shop that's definitely not gouging people. And number 2, and I don't know why I'm counting this out like we're in first grade class together, but I like the ergonomics. Like I said, it's much flatter, much more of an easy profile of me to work with. And then that little pinky extension on the magazine feels quite solid and gives my big old hand just enough to get onto to control it under recoil out there when in use on the range. And then number 3, it's been reliable. I haven't had any problems. I haven't had any failures to feed, failures to extract. I haven't had any issues at all. But there is one thing I would change. Some people may disagree with me because some people like it and think it's an added safety feature. It doesn't have to do with the safety at all. It's the trigger restrike capabilities. I don't know. I don't think it needs to be there. And maybe it's just me or like, I don't know, everybody else I know, but nobody trains restrike. Everybody trains tap rack, get that round out of there. Because generally if the round's been hit by the striker, as long as the striker's not broke, it's probably not gonna go bang the second time you hit it, and then you've just wasted some time. Maybe that's just my training methodology and everything I've ever gone through from like law enforcement, the military, special operations, and just having fun with out there on the range and being an instructor myself. But that's just what I do, and I think they could get away from that restrike capability because the new GX4 that's coming out got rid of that, and that trigger in there is far better than the trigger in here. I should actually have one of those coming in soon. So if you're interested in that GX4 Micro, that thing's actually pretty cool for the price. That'll be coming up real soon. Well, let's talk about what you have to do to keep this thing going and keep it reliable. And the one thing is gonna be clean, lubricate, clean, lubricate, clean, lubricate. I said that 3 times and I'm counting again like a 3rd grader, but I hope you understand that you need to do that. So when I got this thing, it felt like there was sand in that slide when I got it from the store. And to be honest, I didn't really have high hopes for it. I brought this thing home and I cleaned it and I cleaned it and I cleaned it. And then I lubed it and let it sit, and then I cleaned it again, and then I lubed it and let it sit. I cleaned it literally deep cleaning 3 times in 1 week, and I'm counting again. But that made it literally feel like a totally different setup. So these are not the most expensive things in the world. You're not gonna get the most finished, most cleaned things out there, and that's just a truth. There was tons of coating in there. There were just little grits and grimes in there, and all that stuff needed to go. So doing those deep cleanings and then a good solid first range trip, a deep cleaning again, it literally felt like a different pistol, and the trigger definitely wore in after just the first couple 100 rounds. It felt like a different pistol out there under that recoil impulse and the pull of the trigger. So if I haven't harped on it enough, clean the thing and put lube on it, and use a good lube. Don't use like the cheapest junk you can find. Think about it this way. That lubrication is what's gonna protect and make sure this thing runs. So buy something decent, a decent brand. There's a ton of them out there. You can even use like Mobil 1 synthetic oil for a vehicle, because if there's any industry that puts a ton of money into figuring out what's gonna save metal parts when they're super hot and going super fast while they're rubbing against other metal parts, it's the automotive industry. But generally I'll use a really good specific lube that's made for guns, something like Lucas oil or just anything that's of good quality. And again, if you need help on how to clean this thing, I've got that video down below. We've all been there, we've all been new, we all need to learn at some point how to properly maintain and care and clean. So that's down there to help you guys. So overall, my experience with the G3C has been far more positive than I expected. Could it be better? Yes. Could it be worse? Yes. But for the price, $253 at 750 rounds, maybe a little over, it's been extremely reliable. I haven't had any issues with it, and it's gotten a little bit better, especially with those cleanings and some rounds. The only thing I had to do was really just kind of get over my own personal bias that I was using a Taurus G3C on the range. Well, that is what I have for you guys today. I hope you liked learning about the Taurus G3C or seeing the follow-up video on it. Make sure you guys get subbed up, get belled up, turn those notification icons on. It's like right down there, so you get information on the videos right when they come out. You don't have to wait, because sometimes information needs to be disseminated quickly. You guys get out there and have some fun. Make sure you check out any of those links down below. Huge thank you to my Patreons. All that stuff is a massive support to the channel. Get out there and have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, and I will see you guys on the next one.